When you're dealing with a situation that's never occurred before, you know, that fear of the unknown a lot of times will cripple people. And, you know, our message to our players is really about routine and try to get everybody in a situation where, you know, you focus on trying to get better every day and growing every day. You know, one of the things we say is make adjustments, not excuses.
To make adjustments and not excuses is something that not only Albertus Magnus's baseball coach Brian Layton has preached to his team, but is also a saying that every single person has had to learn and integrate into their quarantine life during the past few months. It's easy to feel sorry for yourself, but instead, the GNAC spring coaches are choosing to take the high road when dealing with coronavirus, and instead look at this as a massive learning experience, as well as a way to bring collegiate sports back stronger than ever. My name is Taylor Viles, and I am a rising junior at Lasell University studying sports communication and journalism. And I was able to talk with 5 of these coaches from around the league about how they've handled the pandemic and how they will continue to deal with its consequences going forward.
The season was canceled. That's just the way it is, and nothing we can do about it. So we just had to try to focus on the positives. I felt bad for the 4 seniors that had their last season cut short. But for everybody else, it was really about what's next.
What was next? No one knew. What we've learned since is that the entirety of the sports world has halted. The question then became, how do we continue to keep positive and get ready for whatever does come next for collegiate sports?
Sports in general, a lot of times it's top down. If there is a professional league, like for baseball with the Major League Draft, there's going to be 5 rounds. So a lot of those players that were planning on getting drafted at Division I level are now staying. And now those players are staying, which is then those recruited student athletes that were going to fill those holes, a lot of times are going to other schools. And it's really kind of creating this domino cascading effect in terms of baseball where, you know, a lot of players are coming back. You know, a lot of players are looking at it as an opportunity going, you know what, the spring season was canceled. Perhaps I was a resident student, a couple of our students were residents, or they're getting a refund on their housing and their room and board, and they're just putting that towards their master's degree. So they're trying to use it as a way to be positive. But the overall level of competition is going to be the best it's ever been in my eyes.
The competition will exist not only between schools, but also within teams. Many coaches knew that depending on which seniors opted to stay, there could be a backup at a particular position. That could intensify the level of competition. Lasell University head baseball coach Bill O'Berty discusses how this issue has arisen in his program.
Especially in the catcher position, because that's the position where, I thought we were losing Joe Sullivan. I thought we were losing Grant Duford, and Grant's working his way, most likely going to come back. And, I didn't have that much confidence in our other catchers to step in and go for starting roles. So I brought in 3 catchers who I have a lot of confidence in, especially, our catcher from South Carolina that I'm bringing in. I'm very big on him to compete for a starting role right away. Now Joe comes back, Grant comes back. Now we're looking at, 5 or really 6 catchers on the team next year. But again, I think it's just going to lead to more competition.
That's just one silver lining primed to come out of this time, but so many questions still surround what a return could look like. Coach Layton has spent some time thinking about things that exist in collegiate sports that could end up disappearing.
Anytime that something happens that's never happened before, there is going to be collateral damage in certain areas. It's just how it is. Whether it's the changes to travel after 9/11 or how we deal with, social interactions. And baseball is a really social sport. I mean, you know that. And guys have their own handshakes and their individual stuff that they do and all that kind of stuff. And that's part of what makes baseball fun. Like, for me, is what is that going to look like? Are we really not going to have, dudes high-fiving? Or we're not going to shake hands after the game? Lasell and Albertus have had some battles over the years, and there's always mutual respect there. And there's always the handshake at the end, kind of like, hey, that was fun. It's too bad one of us had to lose, So it's one of those things where, what is that going to look like? So I think there's definitely going to be some changes in terms of the overall structure of how things work.
When it comes to recruiting for the future, coaches need to keep in mind the NCAA's decision to allow student athletes another year of eligibility. Every coach approaches this differently, and some schools are set up for easier transitions than others. The University of St. Joseph's, Connecticut's men's lacrosse team was just 4 games into their first season ever. Their head coach, Andrew Fink, explains there are multiple options that could come into play when his countless freshmen have to make their tough decision.
I think it was very interesting that seniors decided to go to grad school. I think because we have so many students in the medical field, I think a lot of them are going to stay for that grad year. So in a way, USJ has kind of set us up for that. But I think now we're just kind of balancing out the recruiting so we are prepared to have, again, not get hammered. For someone like USJ, we could have 25 seniors, but in a way it might benefit us where their true senior year, some of them might go to a different school, might go across country, try something new, maybe obviously probably not play, and then a few of them will probably stay. So in a way, it's probably going to benefit us where other programs, again, back to the 45-man rosters, 50-man roster, it's going to hurt them. But for us, it'll actually balance out. Otherwise, we're going to have 25 guys walk out the door on their senior day. That's gonna be a huge blow. But now it might be the kind of a split.
Emmanuel College head softball coach Olivia Berry would love for all of her players to return, but also acknowledges that it's not in the cards for all of them.
College is expensive for everyone, regardless if you're at a state school or a private institution, and it needs to make sense in your long-term career and life goals for it to work out. And while I would love to have every member of my class that lost this season, or not my class, my team, be able to come back and enjoy the season that they lost, if it doesn't fit in their long-term plans, it doesn't fit. This year we have 3 seniors. All 3 of them are still undecided on their decision. They want to come back because of softball, but again, it just needs to fit.
Halting sports not only mean that the fans are missing out, but also meant that student athletes wouldn't be able to spend their springs with their teammates and build that kind of camaraderie that one would expect on a college roster. Staying in touch since leaving campus has been critical to keeping team morale as high as possible and salvaging some of that camaraderie. Some teams have been finding their own unique ways to stay connected while even having some fun, as Coach Berry explains.
We also did what we called the COVID-19 challenge. So we split into 5 groups. Every coach was a member of a group, and every day you were able to get points. So whether it's going out and doing 30 minutes of cardio, you would get 3 points, or going and finishing a Netflix series, you'd be able to get 3 points. So it kind of ranged all over the place of things that realistically we're doing right now. But also within that challenge, it was ways to keep us involved. So one, I think that was 5 points, was go for an hour-long hike and then send a picture about the hike to your teammates to tell them what you're doing or where you are. So that's been a really great way for us to stay kind of interacting with one another.
Berry says that her team already has what it takes to get through this and will come out stronger than ever. It's a culture that's been instilled in them since the beginning.
I think it's a difference between creating an atmosphere versus already have created an atmosphere. So I think that it'd be really hard to try to build an atmosphere right now to push people forward to really be excited to coming back, versus having already done that. I think culture is something that really shows in times of struggle, and the culture of our programs really kind of shown through. The athletes are talking to one another all the time. We're talking to them. And they're already ready to get back on the softball field, and they're ready to play the game. And I think that if that wasn't already instilled in our program, it'd be really hard to try to build that right now.
No matter the experiences that each team and each coach have dealt with through this trying time, the moral of the story has become clear for all involved.
My message to the team at the end of the year was simply, this is why we don't take anything for granted. Because at any given time, this gift that we call collegiate athletics can be taken away.
Playing college softball is a privilege and not a right. And the amount that you get from that, I think people are going to be so much more grateful for the experiences that they get. Losing softball for my team this year, for our program, and for probably programs across the country, was absolutely devastating. And it was devastating because the student athletes care so much. They care about our family at the end of the day. And I'm hoping that when we come back from this, we're able to really get down to the nitty-gritty of what our program's about and why we spend so many hours together. That amount of kind of anticipation that everybody's going to feel, it's not going to be because, oh my God, I haven't played softball in a year. Like, I'm so excited to get back and play softball. It's going to be, I'm really grateful for the people that I'm able to be around every single day and for the opportunity that I get to play this game.